Lena lived on a quiet world far away from the crowded stars. Her people called it Rios, a planet of tall silver trees, wide green fields, and rivers that ran colder than ice. The villages of her people were built beside those rivers because water was the center of their life. They believed water should always be pure, untouched, and cold. Every morning, families went to the river to bathe in silence. It was their tradition for thousands of years. But Lena was different. From the time she was young, she never felt satisfied with the cold water. The icy rivers made her skin sting, and she wondered why it had to be this way. The elders taught that warmth was a danger, that it weakened the body and clouded the mind. But when Lena asked why, she never received a clear answer. They told her not to question the old ways. Yet Lena was curious. She would often sit on the hills outside her village, staring at the stars that filled the night sky. Her people rarely looked upward, but Lena always did. She wondered what kind of worlds existed out there. Did every world bathe in cold rivers? Or were there other ways of life? Lena's curiosity often made her stand apart from the others. The children of her age followed the rules without hesitation. They went to the river when told, worked in the fields, and returned home before the sun dipped low. Lena, however, preferred to wander. She liked to walk into the forests where the silver trees sang softly in the wind. She liked to watch the fish move quickly in the streams. She liked to imagine herself far away, speaking with beings she had never met. Her parents worried about her. They were kind people, gentle and quiet, but they feared that Lena's rebellious mind would bring her trouble. They warned her that the elders disliked too many questions. They asked her to live simply, to follow the way of their people. Lena would nod politely, but her heart always told her something else. She was not made for silence and obedience. One evening, Lena sat near the largest hill above the village. From that place, she could see far across the plains. The twin moons rose together, covering the land in silver light. The stars seemed brighter than usual, and she thought she could almost see movement among them. A flash of light crossed the sky, slow and steady, not like a star that falls in a breath. Her heart jumped. She had read of such lights before. Traders sometimes spoke of humans, a people who traveled from world to world in ships of metal. They said humans were strange, loud and full of energy. They loved to build, to laugh, and to create things no other people would dare. To Lena, they sounded more alive than anyone she had ever known. And now, perhaps, she had seen one of their ships. She ran down the hill, her eyes wide with wonder. No one else seemed to notice the light. The villagers were already asleep, doors shut tight, lamps turned dark. Only Lena remained awake, chasing a dream across the night. She followed the path of the light until she reached the outer edge of the plains. There, far in the distance, she saw a glow upon the ground. It was not the cool glow of the moons. It was warm, golden, alive. She hid behind the rocks and peered out. A ship rested upon the earth. It was larger than any building in her village, smooth and shining with lights that blinked in steady patterns. Figures moved near its base, speaking to each other in voices that carried across the open air. They were not like her people. Their shapes were slightly different, their skin tones varied, their clothes strange. But there was no mistaking it. These were humans. Lena's breath caught in her throat. She pressed her back against the rocks, her heart racing like the wings of a bird. Part of her wanted to run home at once. The elders had warned that strangers brought danger. But another part of her, stronger and braver, wanted to see more. She stayed hidden for a long time, watching the humans work. They unloaded boxes, spoke in their strange language, and laughed often. Their laughter surprised her most of all. It was loud and full of life, nothing like the quiet tones of her people. Even from her hiding place, Lena felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. She wanted to know what they were saying. She wanted to know why they laughed so freely. As the night grew deeper, one of the humans turned in her direction. Lena held her breath, pressing herself closer to the rocks. The human was a woman with dark hair tied behind her head. She carried a small light in her hand and walked slowly, scanning the ground. For a moment, Lena thought she had been discovered, but the human only paused, looked at the stars, and then returned to her companions. Relief washed over Lena, but so did a new feeling: excitement. She had seen them with her own eyes. She had proof that the stories were true. Humans had come to her world, and they were only a short distance away. That night, when Lena finally returned to her village, she could not sleep. She lay awake on her bed of woven reeds, staring at the roof of her home. Her mind replayed everything she had seen: the shining ship, the laughter, the warmth. She wondered what else humans did that her people never dared. She thought again of the rivers, of the cold baths every morning. She wondered if humans lived the same way. Somehow she felt they did not. Somehow she believed that they had their own traditions, their own ways to find peace. The thought filled her with both fear and excitement. Lena knew she could not speak of what she had seen. The elders would call her a liar, or worse, they would forbid her from leaving the village. But the fire in her heart had already been lit. She had seen another way of life, and she could not turn back. As dawn approached, Lena whispered to herself, "I will find out more. I will learn the truth." And so her journey began, not with a great battle, not with a loud call, but with the quiet steps of a curious girl who wanted to know more than her world allowed. The next morning, Lena woke with the memory of the strange ship still alive in her mind. She moved through her daily tasks in silence, but her thoughts were far from the cold river where her people bathed. As the icy water touched her skin, she shivered harder than usual. She thought of the golden lights of the human ship, of their laughter, and of the warmth she had seen in their camp. For the first time, she felt the old ways of her people as a heavy chain, not a guiding path. When the sun rose high and most of the villagers returned to their homes to rest, Lena slipped away. She walked across the plains again, her eyes fixed on the place where she had seen the glow of the ship the night before. Her heart pounded with every step, but her curiosity burned stronger than her fear. The ship was still there. Its silver sides shone brightly in the daylight, and smoke rose gently from its engines. The humans moved busily around it, unpacking boxes and setting up small shelters nearby. They spoke to each other in words Lena could not understand, but their voices were full of energy. Sometimes they spoke quickly, other times slowly, and often they laughed. Lena crouched behind the tall grasses and watched closely. She studied their faces, noticing how each one looked different. Some had light skin, some darker. Some had hair the color of fire, and others the color of night. Her own people all looked nearly the same, with pale skin and silver eyes. But these humans carried a variety that fascinated her. One of the humans stood out to Lena more than the others. It was the same woman she had seen last night, the one with dark hair tied behind her head. The woman moved with confidence, giving directions to the others, and yet she often smiled warmly when they answered her. Lena guessed she was a leader, but not like the elders of her village who spoke with stern voices. This leader seemed both strong and kind. Hours passed and Lena stayed hidden. At last, the humans finished their work and sat together to eat. They passed food around freely, sharing pieces without hesitation. They raised cups of water and clinked them together with cheerful voices. Lena's people never ate in such a way. Meals in her village were quiet, each person focusing only on their own plate. Here, eating was something joyful, something that connected everyone. Lena leaned forward too far and a stone shifted under her hand. It rolled down the slope with a soft clatter. She froze, her heart leaping into her throat. The dark-haired woman lifted her head and looked directly toward the sound. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment Lena thought she had been seen. The woman stood slowly, holding a piece of bread in her hand. She walked toward the rocks where Lena hid. Lena pressed herself low to the ground, hardly daring to breathe. But the woman did not call out in alarm. Instead, she stopped a short distance away and spoke in a calm voice. Lena could not understand the words, but the tone was gentle, almost inviting. The woman took another step closer, then placed the bread on the ground between them. She gave a small smile, raised her hand in a peaceful gesture, and slowly walked back to her group. Lena stared at the bread, her heart pounding. No one had ever offered her food this way. Carefully, she reached out and touched it. The bread was soft and warm, nothing like the dry grain cakes her people ate each day. She brought it to her lips and took a small bite. The flavor filled her mouth, richer and fuller than anything she had tasted before. Her eyes widened in wonder. She looked back at the humans. They were watching her now, but none of them looked angry. Instead, they smiled, some even waved. The dark-haired woman gave a nod as if to say, "You are welcome here." For the first time, Lena felt the wall between her world and theirs begin to crumble. The next day, Lena returned to the same place. This time she did not hide so carefully. She stood behind the grasses, watching with open eyes. When the dark-haired woman noticed her, she waved for Lena to come closer. Lena's legs shook, but she stepped forward. The humans spoke among themselves, and one of them hurried into the ship. He returned carrying a small device that he held in his hands. The dark-haired woman pressed a button, and the device made a soft hum. She spoke into it, and then to Lena's shock, the device repeated the words in her own language. "Do not be afraid," the voice said. Lena's eyes widened. She understood. The device had bridged the gap between their languages. The woman smiled and spoke again. "My name is Mira. What is yours?" Lena hesitated, then whispered, "Lena." Mira repeated her name softly, as if testing the sound. She pointed to herself and said, "Mira." She pointed to Lena and said, "Lena." Then she laughed gently, and some of the other humans laughed too. Lena did not understand the joke, but she felt no fear. She even found herself smiling back. Mira spoke again through the device. "You are curious. You watched us last night." "That is why I left the bread." Lena lowered her eyes, embarrassed. "I wanted to see," she admitted. "That is good," Mira replied. "Curiosity is the beginning of learning." The words struck deep inside Lena's heart. In her village, curiosity was often seen as trouble, but here, with these strangers, it was praised. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, not from the sun, but from being understood. The humans invited her to sit with them. They offered more food, and she tasted strange fruits, roasted meat, and sweet water that sparkled with bubbles. Every bite was new, every sip a discovery. She listened to their voices, learning the rhythm of their speech even when she could not understand every word. As the sun set, Lena knew she would have to return to her village before she was missed. She rose to leave, but Mira placed a gentle hand on her arm. Through the device, Mira said, "Come again tomorrow. There is much to show you." Lena nodded, her heart racing with excitement. She hurried back across the plains, the taste of human food still on her tongue, and the sound of their laughter still in her ears. That night, she could not sleep again. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling of her home, thinking of Mira and the others. They were different from everything she had ever known, yet they had welcomed her. She felt a new path opening before her, one that might change her life forever. And for the first time in her life, Lena could not wait for tomorrow. The next day arrived with a bright sky. Lena woke before anyone else in her village and walked quickly across the plains. Her heart beat fast with both fear and excitement. She had never kept such a secret before, but the thought of meeting Mira and the other humans filled her with energy. When she reached the human ship, she found them already awake. Some were busy checking boxes, others were fixing equipment, and a few were eating together. As soon as Mira saw Lena, she waved with a warm smile. "You came back," Mira said through the small device that translated their words. "Yes," Lena answered softly. "I wanted to learn more." Mira nodded. "Good. There is much you have not seen." The humans welcomed her as if she were already part of their group. They gave her a seat near the fire they had built and offered food again. This time it was a round bread filled with soft fruit. Lena tasted it carefully and her eyes lit up. The flavor was sweet and gentle, unlike anything from her village. She sat quietly, listening as they talked. Though she did not understand all their words, the translator helped her follow enough to know they were speaking about repairs and supplies. She admired how they worked together, sharing ideas and helping each other. In her village, decisions were always made by the elders, and no one dared to question them. Here, even the younger humans gave their thoughts freely, and the others listened. After a while, Mira stood and motioned for Lena to follow. She led her inside the ship. Lena gasped the moment she stepped through the door. The air was warmer than outside, and strange lights glowed softly along the walls. The floor was smooth and clean, unlike the dirt paths of her village. She touched the wall with her hand and felt a faint hum, as if the ship itself was alive. Mira watched her with a kind expression. "This is our home when we travel between stars," she explained through the device. Lena looked around in wonder. "It is so different," she whispered. Mira nodded. "Yes, different, but it keeps us safe." They walked down a hallway, passing doors that slid open and shut without sound. Inside one room, Lena saw soft beds lined in neat rows. In another, she saw shelves full of tools and machines she could not name. Everything felt new, almost magical. But she sensed it was not magic at all. It was knowledge, shaped by human hands. Then Mira stopped at a door that looked different from the others. She pressed a button and the door slid open with a quiet hiss. Warm air rushed out and Lena stepped back in surprise. A cloud of white mist floated toward her, filling the hallway with a gentle scent of water. Lena blinked. "What is this place?" Mira smiled. "This is a steam bath. Humans use it to rest, to clean, and to heal their bodies after long journeys." The word was strange to Lena. Steam bath. Her people had never spoken of such a thing. She peeked inside and saw benches made of smooth stone. The room was filled with thick mist and drops of water ran down the walls. The air looked heavy, yet inviting. Lena shook her head slowly. "We do not have this. My people bathe only in the cold rivers. They say warmth is dangerous." Mira's smile softened. "Warmth is not danger. Warmth is comfort. Do you wish to try?" Lena froze. The question hung in the air like a challenge. Part of her wanted to run away at once. The elders' warnings echoed in her mind. To step into such a place would go against everything she had been taught. But another part of her, the part that had always questioned, burned with curiosity. She looked at Mira, who waited patiently. The human did not push her, did not command her. She only offered. That alone felt strange to Lena, who was used to the elders telling her what she must do. Lena swallowed hard. "What will happen if I go inside?" Mira's eyes sparkled. "You will feel warmth all around you. At first it may seem strange, but soon your body will relax. It is safe. I will stay with you so you will not be afraid." Lena's hands trembled. She stepped closer to the doorway and felt the steam touch her face. It was not painful. It was soft, almost like the touch of a blanket. The air smelled fresh, as if the rivers themselves had been transformed. Her heart pounded. She wanted to know. She needed to know. "Will it hurt?" Lena whispered. "No," Mira said gently. "It will only comfort you." Lena closed her eyes. She thought of the icy river that stung her skin every morning. She thought of the laughter of the humans as they shared their meals. She thought of Mira's kindness and her words. Curiosity is the beginning of learning. Slowly she nodded. "I will try." Mira's smile widened, not in triumph, but in warmth. She stepped aside, allowing Lena to enter first. The mist thickened around Lena as she crossed the threshold. The warmth wrapped her body at once and she gasped. Her skin tingled, her breath came heavy, and her mind shouted that this was wrong. But Mira was beside her, calm and steady. "Breathe slowly," Mira said. "Let the steam surround you." Lena obeyed. She took a deep breath and the heavy air filled her chest. It felt strange at first, but as moments passed, her body began to loosen. The tightness in her muscles softened and her heartbeat slowed. She sat on one of the benches, the smooth stone warm beneath her. Drops of water formed on her arms and ran down in gentle streams. She touched her skin, amazed at the softness. She looked around the room at the mist swirling like a living cloud. For the first time in her life, she felt no cold, no sting, no pain, only warmth, deep and peaceful. Her eyes widened in wonder. "It feels good," she whispered. Mira laughed softly. "Yes, this is why we use the steam bath. It heals the body and the mind. It reminds us that rest is also a kind of strength." Lena sat in silence, letting the warmth sink deeper. She felt as though a door had opened inside her, showing her a world beyond the frozen rivers and silent meals of her village. She turned to Mira. "If my people saw this, they would say it is wrong." Mira's expression was kind but serious. "Sometimes traditions keep us safe, but sometimes they keep us from discovering joy. Only you can decide which is true." Lena lowered her eyes, thinking about the elders, her family, and her village. She thought of the chains of cold water and the rules that never changed. And then she thought of the steam that now embraced her like a gentle friend. For the first time, she wondered if her people had been wrong all along. And for the first time, she felt truly alive. The mist curled around Lena as she sat in the steam bath. Every breath filled her chest with warmth, and every drop of water that slid down her skin carried away the tension she had always carried. She had never known her body could feel so light. For a moment she closed her eyes and forgot everything. Her village, the cold rivers, the elders' rules. There was only the warmth and the silence of the steam. Mira sat beside her, calm and patient. The human leader did not speak much, only smiled as if she understood what Lena was experiencing. When Lena opened her eyes, she saw Mira's face through the mist, steady and kind. "Do you see now?" Mira asked softly, her voice clear even through the thick air. "Yes," Lena whispered. Her voice trembled, not from fear but from the weight of the discovery. "It is not danger, it is comfort," Mira nodded. "Comfort is not weakness. Sometimes it gives strength." Lena let those words sink deep. Strength had always been taught as silence, endurance, and obedience. But here, in this strange room, she felt stronger than she ever had before. The warmth did not weaken her. It gave her peace. After some time, Mira led her back into the cool hallway of the ship. The sudden change made Lena shiver, but the warmth still lingered inside her. She looked at her hands, almost expecting them to glow from what she had just felt. Mira placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "You were brave to step inside. Few would dare to try something their people forbid." Lena met Mira's eyes. "I wanted to know. I wanted to feel it for myself." "That is the heart of learning," Mira replied. They walked together back toward the open plains. Outside, the other humans greeted them with cheerful voices. One of them offered Lena a small cup of sweet water, and she drank gratefully, the coolness mixing with the warmth still inside her. As the humans returned to their tasks, Lena sat nearby, lost in thought. She remembered the river of her village, the cold mornings and the sharp sting of water against her skin. She thought of the way the elders spoke of warmth, calling it a danger that made people lazy and weak. But now she knew their words were not the full truth. For the first time, Lena carried a secret that could change her life. That night, when she returned to the village, everything felt different. The river glistened in the moonlight, but instead of peace, she saw only harshness. Families bathed in silence, their faces tight with the effort to endure the cold. She stood at the edge of the water and hesitated. She could not stop herself from remembering the steam bath. She could not forget how it had felt. Slowly, she stepped into the icy river and the shock hit her like always. She gasped, her body stiffening. But instead of accepting it as she once did, she now compared it to the warmth she had known. She realized she no longer wanted this cold. She wanted the comfort she had felt in the human ship. She said nothing as she finished bathing, but her mind was alive with questions. Why had her people forbidden warmth? Why had they hidden something that could bring peace instead of pain? The following days, Lena visited the humans again and again. Each time she learned something new. Mira showed her how the ship worked, how machines helped them live among the stars. Another human taught her simple words in their language, and she repeated them carefully, laughing when she made mistakes. They treated her not as an outsider, but as a friend, and each visit ended the same way, with Mira leading her into the steam bath. Lena grew more comfortable with it, staying longer each time. She learned how to breathe deeply, how to let the mist relax her body, how to enjoy the simple act of resting. It became more than curiosity. It became a part of her. But with every new step, her fear of discovery grew stronger. One evening, as she walked back toward her village, she noticed two boys following her. They were from her own people, curious about where she disappeared each day. Lena's chest tightened. She quickened her pace, turning sharply through the trees until she lost them. Only then did she breathe again. She knew she could not keep her secret forever. If the elders learned she had entered the human ship, if they discovered she had stepped into warmth, they would not forgive her. Yet she could not turn back. The first step she had taken into the steam bath had changed her too deeply. That night, lying awake on her bed, she remembered Mira's words. Comfort is not weakness. Sometimes it gives strength. She whispered them to herself again and again, as if they were a shield. The next morning, when her family asked where she was going, Lena simply smiled and said she would walk by the hills. She walked quickly across the plains until the shining ship came into view. The humans greeted her like always, and Mira placed a hand on her shoulder as if sensing her unease. "You are worried," Mira said. "Yes," Lena admitted. "My people follow me sometimes. They want to know where I go." Mira looked thoughtful. Secrets are heavy to carry, but every journey begins with one step. You have already taken yours. Now you must decide how far you will go. Lena lowered her eyes. She was still afraid, but the warmth she carried inside reminded her that she was stronger than before. The first step had been the hardest. Whatever came next, she would face it. That day she sat in the steam bath longer than ever, her eyes closed, her body relaxed, her mind steady. She knew she was no longer the same girl who once obeyed every word of the elders. She was someone new, someone who had taken the first step into a wider world, and deep inside she felt that this was only the beginning. Lena sat quietly in the steam bath, her eyes half closed, the mist rising all around her. Each drop of water that touched her skin felt like a whisper of comfort. The first time she had stepped inside, she had been afraid. Now she felt at home. Her body no longer fought against the warmth. Instead, it welcomed it. She leaned back on the smooth bench, her hands resting on her knees. Her breathing slowed, calm and steady. For the first time in her life, Lena felt a kind of strength that did not come from struggle or endurance. It was not the strength of standing in the icy river, forcing herself to be silent. It was a new strength, born from peace. When she opened her eyes, she saw Mira watching her through the mist. The human leader's smile was gentle. "You are learning," Mira said softly. "Yes," Lena replied. Her voice was quiet, but her heart was full. "I did not know such comfort was possible," Mira nodded. "Sometimes we discover things our people never told us. That is how we grow." Lena thought of her village, of the elders, of the rules that shaped every part of life. She remembered the mornings by the river, the cold water biting at her skin. She remembered her parents telling her to follow tradition, never to question, never to wander too far. Yet here she was, far beyond the boundaries they had set, discovering something they had never imagined. She looked down at her hands. Drops of water slid across her skin, shining in the light. "If my people knew I was here," she whispered, "they would not forgive me." Mira's eyes softened. "Maybe not, but you must ask yourself this. Do you wish to live only for their rules, or do you wish to live for the truth you feel inside?" The words sank deep into Lena's heart. For so long she had obeyed out of fear, but the more time she spent with the humans, the more she realized fear was not the only way to live. When the session ended, Mira guided her back into the cool hallway. The air outside the steam bath no longer felt harsh. The warmth inside her made the cold seem weaker, less powerful. Lena smiled at the thought. The humans offered her food once again, and she joined them at their fire. They passed plates around, laughing as they shared stories. Though Lena did not understand every word, she could feel the joy in their voices. She tried speaking some of the human words Mira had taught her. The group laughed gently at her attempts, not in cruelty but in kindness, helping her pronounce the sounds correctly. Each small success filled her with pride. For the first time, Lena felt like she belonged to two worlds, the one she was born into and this new one she had discovered. But when she returned home that night, the feeling of belonging grew heavy with conflict. Her parents asked her where she had gone, and Lena answered carefully, saying only that she had walked in the hills. They accepted her words, but she saw the worry in their eyes. They knew she wandered too often. Later, as she lay on her bed, she placed her hand on her chest and remembered the warmth still lingering there. It gave her courage. She whispered to herself, "I am stronger now." The days that followed deepened the change inside her. She visited the humans whenever she could. Each time she entered the steam bath, her body and mind relaxed more easily. She began to understand what Mira meant when she said comfort could bring strength. After every visit, Lena felt clearer, more alive. She also learned more about the humans' way of life. They showed her tools that could cut wood without axes, lights that glowed without fire, and tiny devices that carried voices across great distances. Lena listened with wide eyes, amazed at how much humans had created. Her people had always believed that their way was complete, that nothing new was needed. But now Lena saw that life could be more than tradition. It could be discovery. One afternoon, as she sat beside Mira outside the ship, she spoke her thoughts aloud. "I do not understand why my people fear change. If they felt what I felt in the steam bath, they would see it as not danger. They would see it as life." Mira looked at her with patience. "Fear holds many people in place. Change is heavy, but someone must take the first step. Maybe that someone is you." Lena's heart raced. Could she be the one to bring change to her people? The thought was both thrilling and frightening. She imagined standing before the elders, telling them about the steam bath, about the warmth that gave peace instead of pain, She imagined their angry faces, their harsh voices, but she also imagined the younger ones, her friends, listening with wide eyes, just as she had listened to the humans. That night, when she bathed in the river with her people, the cold water stung her skin as always, yet she no longer accepted it quietly. She looked at the faces around her, tight with discomfort, and thought, they do not have to live this way. The idea gave her a new kind of strength, the strength of belief. Still, fear lingered. If she spoke, she could be punished. If she stayed silent, the secret warmth would remain hers alone. One evening after leaving the ship, Lena sat on the hillside looking down at her village. The lights of the homes glowed softly in the distance. The cold river shimmered in the moonlight. Behind her, the humans' camp glowed with its own light, golden and warm. Two worlds stood before her, and she was caught between them. Mira joined her on the hill. For a while, they sat in silence, listening to the night wind. At last, Mira spoke. You are thinking deeply. Yes, Lena admitted. I feel two worlds inside me now. One is the world of my people. The other is the world you have shown me. I do not know which one is mine. Mira placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Maybe both can be yours. But first you must decide who you truly are. Lena's eyes filled with determination. She had taken the first step into the steam bath, and it had given her a new feeling, strength born from peace. Now she faced another step, one far greater and more dangerous. She looked toward her village, then back at the human ship. Her heart beat fast, but the warmth inside her gave her courage. I will not stay silent forever, she whispered. And with that thought, Lena knew her life was no longer the same. She was no longer just a curious girl. She was becoming someone who might change everything. Lena woke before the sun rose. She sat at the edge of her bed, her fingers tight against the blanket. Her dreams had been restless. In them, she had stood before the elders, speaking about the steam bath only to hear their angry shouts. She had woken with her heart racing, sweat cold on her skin. The quiet of the morning did little to calm her. Her parents still slept, their breathing steady. Outside, the river's faint sound reached her ears. She thought of the coming day, of how she could no longer ignore the weight pressing on her chest. She had found something that gave her peace and strength, yet keeping it hidden from her people made her feel trapped. She slipped outside. The air was sharp and cool. Mist rose from the ground as she walked, and she pulled her shawl tight around her shoulders. She walked quickly, heading toward the hills where the human ship rested. Each step filled her with both relief and worry. Relief because she knew she would see Mira and feel safe again. Worry because each visit made it harder to keep the truth from her family. When she reached the ship, Mira was already waiting. The human leader greeted her with a calm smile. You look troubled. I am, Lena admitted. Each time I come here, I feel more alive. But each time I return home, I feel fear. If they find out, I do not know what they will do to me. Mira listened without interrupting. Her eyes were steady, her voice gentle. Fear is heavy, but you are stronger than you know. Still, you must decide when the time is right to speak. Rushing may bring harm, Lena nodded. She understood, yet her heart still ached. She wanted to share the warmth of the steam bath with her friends, with her younger cousins, even with her parents. She wanted them to know there was more to life than the biting cold of the river. Later that morning, she entered the steam bath again. As the heat wrapped around her body, she tried to push her worries away. The mist rose in soft waves, and she let her mind wander. She imagined her people sitting here, their eyes wide with wonder, their bodies relaxing as hers did now. For a brief moment she smiled, but when she left the bath, her thoughts returned. Outside, she saw two of her people walking in the distance. They were near the hill, closer to the ship than she liked. Panic rushed through her. What if they came closer? What if they saw her? She turned quickly to Mira. They must not know I come here. They will think I betray them. Mira placed a hand on her arm. Then we must be careful. We do not wish to cause trouble between you and your people. We will help keep your secret. That night, Lena sat with her family at the evening meal. Her parents spoke of village matters, of harvests, and of the elders' latest decisions. Lena answered when asked, but her mind was elsewhere. Every word her parents spoke reminded her of how different she had become. She still loved them deeply, but she no longer saw the world as they did. Her younger brother, Taryn, watched her closely. At one point, he leaned nearer and whispered, You seem different lately. Where do you go when you leave the village? Lena's breath caught. She forced a small smile. I only walk in the hills. It clears my mind. Terran studied her with suspicion but said nothing more. Still, his question planted a seed of unease. If he had noticed, others might as well. The following days grew harder. More than once, Lena thought she saw villagers watching her when she left. Whispers carried through the air when she passed. She walked quickly, trying not to let her fear show, but inside she trembled. One afternoon, after another session in the steam bath, she sat with Mira outside the ship. The sky was painted with the colors of sunset, and for a moment the view calmed her. But the calm did not last. She turned to Mira with urgent eyes. What if they follow me one day? What if they find the ship? They will not listen. They will call you danger. They will take me away. Mira's voice was steady. If that day comes, you must hold to the truth you have seen. They may resist at first, but truth cannot stay hidden forever. Still, I hope you will not stand alone. Perhaps someone close to you may listen. Lena thought of Terran. He was curious, though careful. If anyone in her family might believe her, it could be him. Yet the risk frightened her. That evening, when she returned home, Terran cornered her outside their door. You are hiding something, he said firmly. His eyes searched her face. Tell me. I will not tell the others if you speak to me first. Lena hesitated. Fear and hope fought inside her. At last she whispered, I cannot tell you everything yet, but I promise it is not danger. It is something good, something that makes me stronger. Terran frowned but nodded slowly. I will wait, but be careful. Others are asking about you. His words confirmed her worst worry. The village was noticing. That night, Lena lay awake, staring at the ceiling of her small home. Her heart pounded with every sound outside. Each whisper of wind felt like a warning. She could not stop imagining the moment the elders discovered her secret. She saw herself dragged before them, her voice drowned by their anger. She saw Mira forced to leave, the ship driven away. The thought made her chest tighten with dread. Yet even in her fear, another image rose. She saw herself standing tall, speaking clearly of what she had found. She saw the younger villagers listening, their eyes wide. She saw the future change, even if only a little. Morning came too soon. Lena dressed quietly, her mind heavy. As she stepped outside, the river's cold shimmer caught her eye. She thought of the warmth of the steam bath, the way it healed her spirit. A spark of courage lit within her. She whispered to herself, They cannot take this from me. Even if they do not understand, I will not forget. But her fear remained. She knew the time was near when her secret could no longer stay hidden. The shadows of discovery were closing in. And though her heart trembled, Lena also felt the faint stir of something new. Resolve. The morning sun painted the sky with soft orange light as Lena walked toward the hills. Her steps were slow, her mind heavy with thoughts. Each day her visits to the humans brought her joy, but each night her fears grew stronger. She knew the moment of truth was close. Her people were watching. They whispered behind her back. Some were suspicious. Some were afraid. When she reached the human ship, Mira was waiting outside. The leader's calm expression eased Lena's heart, but not enough to clear her worries. You look tired, Mira said gently. I am, Lena admitted. I cannot hide forever. My people will find out soon. I feel it. Mira studied her with kind eyes. Then you must be ready. When that moment comes, you will have to choose. Will you speak your truth or will you remain silent? Lena swallowed hard. She thought of her parents, of her younger brother Terran, of her friends who still bathed in the freezing river. She thought of the warmth of the steam bath, of the laughter she shared with the humans. Her heart pulled in two directions. Later, as she sat inside the steam bath, she closed her eyes and let the warmth cover her. The mist surrounded her like an embrace. For a moment, she imagined bringing her people here one by one. She saw them smile, their bodies relaxing, their fears melting away. The thought filled her with hope, but another image rose quickly after. She saw the elders' stern faces, their harsh voices condemning her. She saw her parents turning away in shame. Her hope dimmed. When the session ended, Lena stepped outside with Mira. The air was crisp and the hills stretched wide beneath the bright sky. She turned to the human leader. I'm afraid, Lena whispered, but I also know I cannot go back. I am no longer the girl I was. Mira placed a hand on her shoulder. That is true. Growth cannot be undone. Whatever happens, you must carry the truth inside you. Even if others reject it, you will know it is real. That evening, as Lena returned to her village, the air felt different. Whispers grew louder when she passed. Her brother Taryn approached her quickly, his face tight with worry. "The elders want to see you," he said. "They say you have been hiding something." Lena's heart pounded. The moment had come sooner than she expected. She followed Taryn to the meeting hall, her steps unsteady. Inside, the elders sat in a row, their eyes sharp and heavy. Villagers crowded behind, watching silently. One of the elders, an older woman with silver hair, spoke first. "Lena, many have seen you wandering near the hills. You leave often. You return late. Tell us now, what are you hiding?" The room was silent. All eyes were on her. Lena felt her throat tighten. Fear screamed at her to stay quiet, to invent a story, to protect herself. But another voice rose within her, steady and strong, the voice of the warmth she had found. She lifted her head. "I have found something beyond the hills," she said. "The humans who came from the stars. They showed me a way of bathing not with cold but with warmth, a bath of steam. It gave me strength and peace I have never known." Gasps filled the room. Murmurs spread like fire. Some villagers looked shocked. Others looked angry. The elder frowned. "You broke the rule of distance. You approached outsiders. You risked danger. How could you betray our ways?" Lena's heart raced, but she stood tall. "I did not find danger. I found healing. For years we have stood in the cold river, our bodies shaking, our hearts hardened. But there is another way. The warmth does not weaken us. It makes us strong in a different way. It gives us peace." The hall erupted in whispers. Some voices carried doubt, others curiosity. Her parents sat among the crowd, their faces pale with fear. Taryn watched her with wide eyes caught between worry and admiration. The elder raised a hand and silence returned. "Your words are bold, Lena, but tradition has kept us safe for generations. Do you believe you know better than your ancestors?" Lena's voice trembled, but she did not stop. "I believe our ancestors wanted us to survive. But survival is not the only way to live. I believe they would want us to grow if we found something better. The humans showed me warmth, and I will not forget it." Her words hung in the air. Some villagers nodded slightly as if moved. Others scowled. At last the elders dismissed her, saying they would decide her fate soon. Lena left the hall with her heart still pounding. Taryn hurried after her. "You spoke with courage," he said quietly. "I do not know what they will decide, but I believe you." Lena looked at him, hope flickering in her chest. If her brother could believe, maybe others would too. That night she sat outside her home staring at the stars. She thought of the humans, of Mira's calm eyes and gentle words. She thought of the steam bath, of the warmth that had changed her life. She thought of her people, caught between fear and possibility. When Mira came to see her the next day, Lena told her everything. The humans listened carefully, their faces serious but calm. Mira said, "You have planted a seed. Some will resist, but others will remember. Change begins with one voice, and you have spoken." Days passed. The elders did not punish Lena, but they warned her to stay away from the hills. Yet whispers spread among the young. They asked her quiet questions when no one was listening. What was the steam bath like? Did it truly feel warm? Did it truly bring peace? Lena answered softly, telling them of the mist, the comfort, the strength. Their eyes shone with curiosity. She knew the change would not come quickly. The elders were firm and fear was strong. But the seed had been planted. And seeds, once planted, could grow. One evening, Lena stood on the hill between her village and the human ship. The river flowed cold and silver below. The ship glowed warm and golden behind her. Two worlds stretched before her, she whispered to herself. "I will walk both paths. I will not forget where I came from. But I will also not turn away from what I have found." Her heart felt light. The choice had been made. She would carry the warmth within her no matter what the future held. And though the road ahead was uncertain, Lena knew one thing with clarity. She was no longer only a curious girl. She was a voice of change. And that voice, once awakened, would never be silent again.